All right, if you were a muscle car, like which one do you think you would be in terms of your style of play on the field?
To be honest, I would probably have to say, probably a Hellcat, a Dodge Hellcat. It's a bigger bodied car. It got some go to it, and it's a little hefty, so it got some when you hit it.
The it factor, the most overused and undefinable phrase in sports. If you have it, everyone knows it.
Trent McDuffie applying the lumber.
The qualities that many desire, but very few possess.
Dropped in the backfield by Thibodeau.
Well, what really is it? Who has it? And how did they get it?
Britton Covey gives Utah a jolt of momentum.
That's what we're here to discover. We'll take the helmet off the Pac-12's elite performers to learn more about their journey towards success on Saturdays. I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome to the It Factor. Welcome back, or welcome to the It Factory. I'm your host, Yogi Roth, and by now you know the deal. We take the helmet off of elite athletes and tell the stories of who they are. Of course, we are presented by Zayo, and today we're joined by an All-American, one of the top players to come out of USC football ever, and currently the reigning Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. One of my favorites because of not just what he does on the field on game day, but how he practices. Drake London, I've been watching you for years, man. First time on the show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, for sure. So, like, how is life? You're preparing for the NFL. We've ripped through the holidays. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Blessed to be honest. Been able to see family, friends. A little downtime with the injury. It's been a blessing at that. So, and I mean, I just been living life, man. It's been surreal that I finally entered into the draft and everything like that. So everything's moving fast, but in a good direction.
I can remember when you signed at SC. I went back and looked at my evaluation of you, and I came across some really fun notes. One was that you would watch Reggie Bush highlights before flag football games as a kid. Is that
Yes.
true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you become the offensive player of the year. It was Reggie, it was Marquise Lee, it was Keyshawn Johnson, and it's you. Like, you literally become the guy whose highlights you used to watch before youth games. How's that land on you?
I didn't even know that. So it's all hitting me right now that that was even part of the conversation, or I'm even part of the conversation in that sense. But I think it's just a testament to all the hard work that I've been putting in, and I set a goal and I try to achieve that goal every day, and I've achieved part of it so far. We still got a lot to go.
All right, so what was part of the goal when you were a kid? Was it just to get to SC and play football, or play two sports?
Yeah, my goal is to be a so-called household name in college football sports. I never had really like true aspirations of playing in the league and stuff like that. I was infatuated with college football. So I loved it, and I've always wanted to be a household name in it. So everything else is just icing on top right now.
What about the sport growing up do you think got you infatuated with it?
Um, I think it's just the physicality standpoint of it. Um, this is pretty much, especially in today's society, the only time you can go out there and hit somebody and not really get in trouble for it. So I think that's one aspect of the games that I love, and that you could be a true warrior out there. Like, you can let it all loose and just not necessarily anger out, but let your physicality out. And that's what I love about the game the most.
Yeah, I asked that because also in my signing day notes from you a couple years ago, it said that Charlie Ward was one of your favorite players. Of course, he was a dual sport athlete at Florida State. I don't even know if that's true or not, if he was
No,
growing up.
I do know who Charlie Ward. I don't think he was one of my favorites,
Okay.
but I definitely know of him. Yeah.
So don't believe everything you read on recruiting websites in preparation for signing day. But for me, I remember it was 1993. Florida State played Notre Dame, and I'm pretty sure it was Charlie Ward, and he ended up doing his thing. And I remember that day for me as a kid cemented in, like, when I was like 12, 13 then. And I was like, wow, I want to play in games like that. I want to play, as you said, big time college football. And for you, I'm curious how that thought, that dream was, poured water on that dream and grew that plant per se for you.
Yeah, I think it was my support system, like, definitely. my family, the community behind me, Moore Park, they've all supported me in what I'm doing, and I think it was just a testament to them and their support for me. So it was definitely the support system.
So when you came out of high school, you came to USC with a lot of talented players, especially at your position. Recruiting gets a lot of love and a lot of hype. You didn't have a ton of that, but I'm curious, when you showed up in Heritage Hall and to Howard Jones Field, like, where was your headspace at to get to the place where you are 3 years later?
My dad told me, he said, like, you got to look at it as a big business trip, you know? You got to look at it in that way, and you got to be focused the whole way through. My whole mindset going into it was, I'm gonna keep my head down. I'm gonna learn from the older guys, and I'm gonna try my best to help the team in any way it could possibly be. And I did pretty good, as you can say, and my role just grew from there. So I just kept on, my head kept down, and I just kept on grinding, and that was my whole mentality this whole time I was there.
Is that hard to do in college in LA when your stardom is growing, is to maintain the focus on a business trip?
It can get hard at sometimes, but I would say it was a little bit more easier transition for me, being that I'm only 45 minutes away. I've been to LA, I don't know how many times, throughout my lifetime. So I kind of understand like the culture and what the city is about. So it didn't really phase me at all.
Yeah, I got to imagine like your support system as your stardom grew was something that you leaned on. This past year that you went through, I feel like your stardom exploded, but then you got hurt and you may have hit a low. Like, is that true? Like, did you have your highest highs and lowest lows within the same calendar football season?
Yeah, you can definitely say that, but I wouldn't say so much of stardom and stuff like that. I would I would just basically say, I got hurt. It was the first time that I got hurt, like, ever in my career like that, actual broken bone. So that was probably the biggest low for me. And at the same time, I was having the season of my life, probably the best season I've ever had. So there was definitely highs and lows, but it wasn't nothing about stardom. It was just I got hurt.
Still to come on the It Factory.
Where do you think like college football is? Like, what are your teammates saying around like, what's going to happen with this sport? Like, we got NIL, we got the portal. Like, you're right. Like, coaches are leaving and going and
Mhm.
moving and shaking all the time.
Yeah, it's I think, me personally, and what I've heard from teammates and stuff, it's moving in the right direction, like player friendly and like coach friendly. You could kind of do whatever you want, pretty much almost. But at the same time, you do end up losing those kind of byproducts of a team aspect. Like, you don't know who's going to be leaving the next day, who's going to be coming in the next day, just because you lost one game. So it it's a lot, but I think it's good in a sense.
When I was in college, my roommate was a guy named Larry Fitzgerald. And as I watched you play, a lot of what you did reminded me of him. Like, he went on this run where it was touchdown every game. I think he has the NCAA record for most games in a row with a touchdown or something like that. And it was just bonkers. And it was like the whole team gravitated towards him in every game. Like, oh my God, Fitz is doing this. They're going to double team him. Whatever. Like, it's similar to
Yeah.
what happened to you against Colorado. I called that game. Didn't matter. One-handed touchdown, double team. Didn't matter. Like, have you, when that happened, like, I'd like to know, like, what's it like to be you?
I definitely can feel all the eyes on me. Everybody's gunning for me. Everybody wants their chance when they get in front of me or whatever they're doing. But I mean, I like it. It pushes me to be better in all aspects of my game. So I I love it. That's all I gotta say is that I love it.
But let's keep going there. Like, you'd show up to a game and you would either hear it from the fans if it was a road game, but you could probably see it in the eyes of the defenders who were lined up across from you. What's your self-talk like when that's happening and you show up in that environment?
I always tell myself before anything big's about to happen, or just the beginning of the game in general, beginning of the game or halftime. I always tell myself, do the simple things. before you do anything else. If you do the simple things, then everything else will take over. And that's what I go out there and I try to do. I try to do everything that Coach KC has taught me, and everybody else on that coaching staff, and go out there and just let my body naturally do what it does.
Naturally do what it does. Like, let's talk about that. I've got 2 young boys. I'm trying to teach them how to like catch with their eyes and climb the ladder like as we jump into bed. How did you learn how to catch the rock?
My dad, when I was younger, he would always make sure that we were throwing the football around, catching it, make sure that my coordination was pretty spot on. So I think it was just over the years, just constantly catching footballs, shooting basketballs, dribbling, just being around sports in general.
I feel like you were probably always around the ball your whole life.
Yeah, it was yeah.
It was one of the, it was just that natural. So were you always around cars your whole life? Like you have this infatuation with muscle cars, old school cars? Like where did
Yeah.
that come from?
Uh, I'd say my dad has a lot of influence on me. Like I love that man a lot. Like he's my superhero. So I mean anything that he does or he likes, I'm probably gonna end up liking too. So at a young age, he loved my whole family on his side, loved cars, even on my mama's side too. And it's just in my blood, so to speak. I love the adrenaline of going fast or just hearing loud cars and stuff like that. I just love it.
So are you like a guy to get under the hood? Like could you come over and fix my Toyota Corolla right now?
I wouldn't say under the hood. I can do a little bit of things, but I'm working to get under the hood. Like I want to be able to learn to build my own car and just be able to do that. I think it would be really cool.
Wow. All right. 1962 bubble top Impala.
Yes, sir.
Is that still the ride of choice for you?
That's the one. That's the one right there.
What does bubble top even mean?
I think it's just the shape of the top of how it goes, because the other Impalas are more boxier, I believe, on the top, and this one is shaped a little bit smoother on the top. It just looks good in my eyes.
All right. If you were a muscle car, like which one do you think you would be in terms of your style of play on the field?
A muscle. To be honest, I would probably have to say probably a Hellcat, a Dodge Hellcat. It's a bigger bodied car. It got some go to it, and it's a little hefty, so it got some when you hit it.
We've seen that. We've seen that a few times from you. So let's talk about that, right? You come in onto the scene as a bigger bodied guy, right? And a lot of people listening to this know you to be the big bodied guy to go up and get it. But you went from the slot to outside. But in that transition, you stopped playing hoops. I remember talking to you before spring ball last year, saying my focus is going to just be the craft of receiver. Where did you really grow?
I think I grew in aspects that I didn't even know like I needed at that time. Getting low out of my brakes, explosion out of my brakes, just even just simple stuff like conditioning, being able to run forever, um, not getting tired, just all the little things that you really don't think about. I thought about that when I was training, so I was trying to be as well rounded as I possibly could.
Would you watch a ton? I mean, KC, you referenced Kerry Colbert, one of the greats at USC, was your coach. How would you, and what is the best modality for you as a learner? Was it doing it physically? Was it watching it?
It's going over tape and just watching it. Pretty much, Casey has done a real good job at. I'm a big visual learner, and I know a lot of the guys in our room are big visual learners. So being up there on the board, and he shows us, okay, this is an example of what this route should look like, and just bringing in like um, pros. Like I remember we talked to Devonte Adams one time during our Zoom, and just little things like that. So he's done a very, very good job of teaching us visually.
All right, so take me through your experience on that touchdown that you referenced earlier where you did get hurt. You make a play, it's against Arizona, all of a sudden you're in the end zone. Like, could you feel it happening? And if so, like what was going on in your headspace as it occurred?
I thought I was getting tackled regularly. when I turned around and I seen him, like I kind of saw him in my peripheral, and when I went down, I knew that I was in the end zone, so I kind of just let my body fall. Like I thought it was gonna be a regular tackle, and then I heard a click in my ear, and it sent like a little sharp shockwave up my leg, and I was on the floor, and I reached down because I heard it, and I felt my ankle kind of like it just wasn't in the right place, and at that point I kind of knew like I can't even step on this right now, so it hit me that yeah it's probably broken, and I just started crying like bawling out because it was over at that point.
Coming up on the It Factory.
Did you have pause? Clearly, a lot of people anticipated you going to the NFL, but was there a moment where you're like, this could be cool with this guy in this offense?
Right when I looked over and I saw the notification, I was like, oh, it could be fun. It really could be fun. But you know, football is a day-to-day sport in my eyes, and you gotta make every day count.
You see that a lot when players get hurt. And I'd love you to describe it in even more detail of what you go through in the emotional side of it's over, as you said. Because it's hard for, I think, everyone to relate to it unless you've done it.
Yeah, and like I was still the same way as you, like asking that question, how does it feel? Because this is the first time, but it hits you in a bunch of waves. I mean, you go to realizing that you worked so hard from spring to summer to fall camp, and then just one play like that, it could be finished, you know. And you did all that work, all that effort put in to be the best you possibly be for your teammates, your university, and your family. So it's a tough one to bite.
So how did you, because it's not like you were just a talented player, you're also a leader on the team, someone that everybody looked towards. How did you recalibrate yourself to walk back into the facility and still be somebody that teammates who had gone through a lot, right? You lost a coach, or a lot of changes happening, you weren't playing, getting the wins that you anticipated coming into the season. Curious, like where you told yourself you needed to be to show up for the rest of the squad in the role that you have.
I think I just needed to do what I needed to do, keep on my assignments, keep on going to rehab when I need to, and like going back to doing the little things right. I was never that vocal leader like that. I always try to do it by example, make sure I was there on time to the right places, and do things like that. So I try to keep it in that way and not kind of change anything because it was working that way before. So I just kept it the same, and was going to be that person they picked to be a captain.
What was this season like when you step back away from it now, you're moving on to the next phase of your life? When you look back on 2021 USC football, like, where do you think your head's going to go?
Very chaotic from the jump. And it just made me realize that, you know, college football at the end of the day, like this really is a business. And that's what it made a lot of my teammates and me realize that it's just a business.
Yeah, I feel like that's an interesting phrase, right? Because it is, you're right. But then there's also like this passion and pageantry and camaraderie and like all these other things that are just a byproduct of a team.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think like college football is? Like what are your teammates saying around like what's going to happen with this sport? Like we got NIL, we got the portal. Like you're right. Like coaches are leaving and going and moving and shaking all the time.
Yeah, I think me personally and what I've heard from teammates and stuff, it's moving in the right direction, like player friendly and like coach friendly. You could kind of do whatever you want, pretty much almost. But at the same time, you do end up losing those kind of byproducts of a team aspect. Like you don't know who's going to be leaving the next day, who's going to be coming in the next day, just because you lost one game, you know. So it's a lot, but I think it's good in a sense.
Yeah. So what do you tell like you're going to leave an incredible legacy that now Gary Bryant Jr. is going to try to live up to, right? Cal Ford is going to try to live up to. What do you tell those guys in terms of dealing with the business, as you referenced, being on a quote unquote business trip at
Yeah.
school, and also enjoying college football for what it is. Like, what's your lasting message to them?
Don't try to be nobody else but yourself. That's what I would leave them with, because everybody has their own attributes, their own skill set, their own mind. um, and just be yourself and enjoy the process. When you're feeling bad on the day, that's probably the day that you're getting better. So you just got to keep consistent and keep on going.
Yeah. Um, keep on going. USC football, it ain't gonna stop. And they made one of the biggest hires in recent history.
Yeah.
What was that like for you the day you heard Lincoln Riley was coming to SC?
Oh man, that was surreal. I literally, like, it was like a dream almost. Like, I woke up and I go and turn over, I check my phone, and it says, "We just got Lincoln Riley." And I was like, "What?" I was like so surprised. I was like, they really hit a home run with this one. So a bunch of our teammates was hitting each other up, in a big group chat. Like, we really just got Lincoln. Everybody's ecstatic and excited. So it was definitely a good mood around there.
Did you have pause? Clearly, a lot of people anticipated you going to the NFL, but was there a moment where you're like, this could be cool with this guy in this offense?
Right when I looked over and I saw the notification, I was like, "Oh, it could be fun." It really could be fun. But football is a day-to-day sport in my eyes, and you gotta make every day count. So
Yeah. So how do you get to the place where you make the statement of, I'm going to move on? We always hear about the process after the season. Every player says that I'll evaluate it after the season. But what was yours?
um, I think at the end of the day, I felt that I've done everything that I possibly could to show that I could play at the next level. That's what I feel like. I feel that I've proven that I can go to the next level and play. So if I can make that step forward and I feel comfortable making that step forward, then I think I'm gonna do it.
Amen. How excited are you?
It's like, I keep on saying this, but I feel like I'm in a dream. It's too surreal. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're about to achieve a dream that you've had for a while. You've already achieved one. But now, on top of that, you're going to go down among that great wall of All Americans at USC. Your name's going to be on that wall on the way out to practice. You're going to see maybe your picture out on the practice field. If I told you that 3 years ago, prior to showing up on campus for your first game or your first training camp, what do you think you would have said?
Why are you lying to me? Like, why would you say that? I mean, I would believe it a little. I wouldn't put my money nowhere near that.
Wow. So now that it's a reality, what do you think it's going to be like when you see your name there?
I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely gonna be like a memory that I'll keep forever. I'll just picture that in my head and keep it forever.
Yeah. I've always felt that there's something really beautiful about the phrase called the lonely work, which I describe as doing the boring things longer. Stances and starts, releases, staying up late, not going to a party, doing things that maybe aren't vogue, but can allow you to achieve long-term success. Like, do you have like this mindset of like, hey, in the shadows, like, I'm working. I don't need to be a headline, but in the shadows, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah, I think I love that. I love that, and I listen to what everybody says. I kind of see what everybody says, and I use that as fuel to keep on going. I don't like doubters. I don't like haters or people that say that I can't do anything. So I think that's what keeps me motivated and going, and especially my family too. Making them proud is the best feeling in the world.
I can imagine. All right, so you entered into this unique world of NIL this past year, and now you're about to be professional. NFT with Candy Digital. What is that?
It was pretty cool. It's digital trading cards. I didn't know nothing about it, and I still don't know too much about it. But I think it's like a whole new wave of trading cards.
Do you think that athletes like yourself are going to start to really? I feel like the athlete, artist, entertainer blend has always been there. I feel like there's a big entrepreneurship kind of growth about to happen to athletes, whether it's with NFTs or startups or whatever it may be as we enter this era. I'm curious if you feel that.
And I don't know too much, but I hope it does. I hope it does flourish into something that's like big, for us athletes. I think that would be really, really cool.
As this season went on for you, we've seen a lot of former USC players rave about you. Liner, Reggie, Curtis Conway, Willie McGinnis is out of practice. Carson Palmer was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. He was at one of your games this year. Have you heard from a lot of alums? And if so, what did you feel like, whoa, like Troy Polamalu just said what's up to me, or whomever it was along the path of this past season?
Yeah, I think the funniest one and craziest one I had was Lindell White. It was after one of my freshman games. Was a UCLA one, and I kind of had a little breakout game. And he said, "Hey man, you're gonna have to put that basketball down sometime soon." And he said it to me, and I didn't know who it was at the time. Like I didn't know what Lindell looked like without the helmet and the 2-1 on and everything like that. And then once I realized, so I put it two and two together. I was like ecstatic. I called my dad. I was like, I just talked to Lindell, and then a few years down the road, we're talking regularly and stuff like that. And I just think it's amazing how alumni could come back and they just embrace you like they're on the team with you still.
Yeah. So I was on the staff when Lindell White was there
Okay.
as a running back, and I'll say this: he talked the best amount of smack that I've ever seen in my life. And to watch him and Brian Cushing, I mean, you asked Tim Teslone or Katie Ryan about it. Like, it was epic to watch those two go back and forth in a practice, and Clay Matthews and the intensity you came to watch them as a kid.
Yeah.
Imagine that on the practice field every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, bro.
It was probably so fun to watch. That was probably crazy.
It was crazy. All right, so this show is called The It Factory, and I believe the it factor is the most overused and undefinable phrase. But you clearly have it. It. How would you describe your it factor?
Determination or focus. It would have to be either one. I think my focus and my determination, if I set my head to something, or I want to go do something and I say I'm going to do it, then most likely my chances are that I'm probably going to go reach that goal and do it.
And you got to be confident to do that. So I follow up with, like, where do you think confidence for you comes from?
I think there's a fine line with confidence in a sense. Because too much confidence can get you in trouble, but too less of confidence can get you in trouble as well. And one of my coaches, Steve-O, on the SC team, he was one of the running back assistants. He would always tell me, even kill, and you just have to stay there the whole time. And so I think a good balance of confidence and humility it goes a long way.
So you've been on this journey, this business trip, as you referenced earlier. Walking out of SC now, what is it that you, Drake, know for sure about sport and performance?
And that the mind plays a big role in it. Your well-being off the field and everything like that plays a huge role into sports performance. So keeping your mental right and just staying focused and just staying good in all aspects will really help you on the field.
Yeah. And how have you kept your mental right?
I think just really just staying in the moment and enjoying the time. Because if you think about the future, you think about the past too much, then you're only reminiscing or you're only thinking ahead. I think that if you stay in the present and you do what you have to do in that moment and you conquer that task or whatever you have to do, then I think everything's going to be okay.
And then complete this sentence for me. It all comes down to.
Is there a wrong or right answer?
Whatever answer you want,
Okay,
brother.
go state it again. Sorry, you got it.
It all comes down to
Determination. I'm gonna have to say it again.
I wonder, before we let you go, you're about to leave USC as an all-time great with what you've done, and you're about to go achieve a dream that you set out as a young boy, and your parents thankfully supported and grew. If there was a newspaper of your life at where you are right now, you got treatment coming up, getting your body right, you go to the combine, the draft will come. What's the headline of the newspaper of Drake London's life read?
Keep dreaming and forever dream. Just keep dreaming.
Yeah, I think we found the title of this episode, bro.
There you go.
Drake, like many receivers before you, whether it was Robert Woods, Marquise Lee, Deontay Burnett, my favorite part was watching you post-practice. I've stayed around USC post-practice on purpose to be the last guy to leave to see who's doing what. And man, I loved how you not only stayed late, but then kept others doing extra jugs, extra catches, extra routes, extra dialogue. That I think is going to be a superpower for you moving forward, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Drake, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. That is Drake London, the All-American, one of the greats, the reigning Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year from USC. But as you listen, Drake is just getting going on his journey. If there's one player that I've seen in my career recently to bet on, to do special things on the field, but much more impressive probably off it as his life continues, is Drake. As he referenced, he set out on a dream, and this dude has achieved it, and I love that he continues to reset that dream as well. Hopefully this show has become a part of your dream, hopefully not a part of your nightmares. The It Factory, we have had a blast with this show. Thankfully you have as well. We are kicking into high gear into this new year. We got great episodes. You can check us out at pac-12.com/insider, or wherever you get your podcasts. The It Factory with Yogi Roth. We appreciate it. Stay safe and happy 2022. Peace.